The best I ever heard from a parent was, if you're going to have kids, it has to be two enthusiastic yeses.
Mm.
Both in the couple need to say, yes, I absolutely want to have kids. If one's like, yes, and one's like, I don't know, maybe, or we call them fence sitters,
Yeah.
that's probably a recipe for disaster.
Right.
And I was like, I like it. And what we found is that child-free folks, I don't have full data, but just go with the concept, probably put more thought into not having kids than people do into having kids.
Oh, that's for sure. We don't need any studies there.
Well, so we did a study on this. We asked people why they chose to be child-free. What we found was that most people had more than one reason. And let me kind of give you some of the top reasons. Top reason, 38% was just never wanted kids. Okay, that's obvious. 30% said finances. 27% freedom. Then we get interesting. Environmental concerns. Some people just don't like kids. Medical issues, mental health, pregnancy concerns,
right.
Family issues, career. Big issues. And if you look at it in the U.S., the group out of Michigan did a study. After the overturn of Roe, the number of people saying they're going to be child-free went from about 20% to 26%. So it's politics, it's health, it's all these reasons.
Whoa.
People are doing it.
What? And do you have any insight to why you think them overturning Roe would lead people to be more likely to not want to have kids?
Control of their bodies and reproductive rights. If you look at the number of people getting sterilized, vasectomies or whatever, after the overturn of Roe, went through the roof.
Holy.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
And it's not just a U.S. thing. If you look in Japan, about a third of the people there are child-free.
Right.
And now people go, well, but that's what's causing the population issues. And I'm like, that's a different problem. That doesn't mean we should force people to have kids. But what we're seeing from the child-free population is the people that are choosing not to have kids have put a whole lot of thought into it. It's not like, I don't know where it's going to go. No, they have a good reason. Now, my way of looking at it is their reason's none of your business, because that's, their own choices.
Right.
And for some people, it's not a choice. But what you're seeing is when you ask people, so I do a lot of this work, and I'm talking about child-free stuff. So I hear from all different type of people, and they're like, yep, my first kid was just, it happened. And then I might as well have two. And then
sure,
that's not the same thought process, and I'm not saying one's better or worse. It's just different. And I think what we're going to see, and the data is backing this up, Gen Y and Gen Z, the younger generations, many, many more are going, I'm going to stop, think about what I'm doing, and then make a decision. Where the older generation is like, you just went to school, got married, had kids. It's called the American dream. You buy a house, 2.5 kids, picket fence, and a dog. It was just part of the culture, the standard script that says you got to do this.
Right.
Now it's much more like, I'm going to pause. And, whether it's getting married, 32.1% of childless folks will never marry ever versus 2.5% of parents. So, it all goes together. And you're seeing people just be more mindful of it. I really think, how old are you?
44.
Yeah, I'm 46. We're about the same age. The younger generations, the Gen Z, the ones 20 years younger than us, are much more thoughtful about their life than we ever were.
Right.
We just got to you did this stuff. You went to work, you did this. And they're over here at 20 thinking about things that I'm at mid-40s still haven't thought about.
Right.
For example, some of the folks in the child-free community are saying, look, I'm really worried about the environment. I'm not going to bring a kid into the world who's with this environment struggling. Sure. And by the way, if I don't have a kid, my carbon footprint drops considerably. Because if you actually want to, people talk about I'm going to use paper straws. I'm going to, cut back on driving. Not having a kid has a huge impact on carbon footprint.
Gigantic.
It's one less consumer.
Right.
And it's these. I'm like, I wasn't thinking about that at 20. I mean,
no.
That just.
I think the big difference is as well is that there's an awareness. I think because there's so much information overload everywhere, if you have a question that comes in your mind about the world, you can go and actually get it answered. Not to mention with ChatGPT now, as before, what I'm going to go down to the Encyclopedia Britannica that we have in our basement collecting dust and try to find out about what being a parent is like. And so I think, and this isn't to fault anyone, I think we end up on the train tracks that we end up for so many different reasons. For the people we meet, the family we're from, the countries we're born into. And so if you end up having a kid at 25 or 30, normally it's because your culture and your environment puts you on that path. So it's not until you're like 35 or 40 and the kid is in high school that you're like, how the fuck did I end up here with this life? And then you start evaluating. And if you happen to be happy at that time, you're like, you know what? Maybe I want another kid, or maybe I'm happy with my 2 kids, or maybe I want to. Like, you have all these thoughts, but sometimes you're like, oh shit, I still want to see all these things in the world. Oh no, my partner isn't ideal for me. Like, all these people have a lot of these breakdowns in their 40s, and I'm seeing like clusters of divorces happening in different friend groups. People that I never thought would get divorced, but someone just wakes up one day and they just want to reevaluate their life. Whereas I think if you wait longer to have kids, you know more about what your life can be like without them. And if you're happy with your life as it is, as I am, it would be difficult for me to have a decision to have a kid unless I meet someone amazing that brings all these things into my life that makes it make sense. Then I think I'd be happy to do it. But like you said, there's so many people now that have so much access to what being child-free is like, opposed to what being a mother or father is like.